Good morning, everyone, and welcome into yet another episode of Wake and Take. I'm Jason, and we've got some football to talk about today. I am unfortunately not live, so if you're asking any questions, I'll not be able to get to them today. However, I do have a great show lined up. We are doing a tier list of the 2023 NFL rookie class. I will post the link in the description for you to be able to do this tier list yourself if you'd so choose. Credit goes to PlayerProfiler, of course, for the player headshots. It's going to be fun. It's going to be great. Thank you for tuning in. Let's go ahead and build this tier list. All right, so the way we're going to do this is I've got to share my screen, of course. I've put the top 40 rookies via the Player Profiler rankings, got all their headshots, put it into this. Again, this is a public list that you can use to build your own tier lists. I'm thinking we're going to go with, I'm going to try to, give some information as to why I'm putting each player into these tiers. S tier, of course, being the highest, D tier being the lowest, and I'll give some explanations. I don't know if we should necessarily go with upside or landing spot. It's probably best to just do a mixture of everything. So I'm gonna do that. So without further ado, let's go ahead and do this. So first off, we've got Anthony Richardson, and I really hope that I'm going to be able to remember everyone's headshots. It does not, unfortunately, show me the name of the file. I think I'll be pretty good. But so Anthony Richardson, I think we're going to do a mixture of both. So what I love about Anthony Richardson is that he's got a great landing spot. I think one thing we're all worried about with him is that he might go to a team where they don't have to start him. The Colts necessarily don't have to start him because I do like Gardner Minshew. I think he's fine. But I do think that the Colts landing spot lends the chance to him ending up starting a little bit faster than he would if he went to a team like the Raiders, for example, that a lot of people were projecting. So I'm not going to quite put him at S tier just because he is a project, but I am going to put him at A tier. He got a good landing spot. He's with Shane Steichen, who, of course, worked with Jalen Hurts. It's a good enough weapon core. And then they've got Jonathan Taylor, of course. The offensive line got upgraded a decent bit, and the defense is great too. So if he does go out there and play the way that we all expect him to, he's an S tier. But just, to be a little bit realistic, we're going to slide him into A. But then, of course, Bijan Robinson, S tier. All of the things I just mentioned about Anthony Richardson, plus the fact that he's not a project. The guy is already fantastic. Then he goes to probably the best possible landing spot in the Atlanta Falcons, getting to work with head coach Arthur Smith on a team that ran the ball the most on a run play per game basis last season. So that's an easy S tier, and I couldn't be more happy than him going to the Atlanta Falcons. I do wish they would have, traded back in and maybe got Nolan Smith, or maybe traded back to wait to get Bijan, but I don't know. The way that Jahmyr Gibbs got drafted so early, it might have not even been possible to get him any later than 8. So either way, Bijan Robinson, easy S tier, and honestly, he might be the only S tier, but we'll build through this, and we'll build through it. It looks like it's going to be in alphabetical order of first name when I'm looking at these headshots. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. So this is, I believe, Brenton Strange, the tight end that was drafted by the Jaguars. I'm going to put him in D tier just for now. I know he got decent draft capital, but, he's still behind Evan Ingram. So it's a little bit tough to put him higher. We might move him up. I haven't quite established what this D tier is quite yet. So maybe C is good. Maybe D will be kind of like bad landing spot and bad athlete, and C is kind of a little bit of both. And then B, of course, is just B. It's fine. And I think that's probably a good way to do it. So C, he's a good athlete, but not the best of landing spots. Unless, of course, they don't work out this contract for Evan Ingram and he is moved on, then this guy, he could slide up to an A for all I care. But right now we're gonna temper expectations, put him down at C tier. Bryce Young. Yeah, I've probably just got to be a good analyst here and put him in the A tier with Anthony Richardson. Obviously, 101 overall, number 1 pick, great college production, Heisman Trophy winner, just a little undersized. That's what keeps him from the S tier. Plus, the landing spot isn't that great either. So, I mean, honestly, my heart's telling me B, if I'm going to be honest with you, but I think it's fair to slide him into A if we're projecting Anthony Richardson to be a little better than he truly is right now. Then we should probably kind of only take away the landing spot for Bryce Young. So, I mean, the Panthers, not the best team to be on, but he's going to be a starting quarterback in the NFL. And with quarterbacks, it doesn't really matter, right, if it's super flex or not when you're building a tier list, but let's just go ahead and say it is. So quarterbacks are just going to be ranked higher in general. And yeah, I mean, I think the A tier is fine. Definitely not an S tier. My heart's telling me B tier, but I think good analyst and analysis puts you in the A tier just because, I mean, yeah, there's not a strong history of small size quarterbacks succeeding. Doesn't mean that he can't. And yeah, the landing spot's bad, but still, number one overall. The Panthers are expecting something of him, so it's kind of unfair to put that guy in a B tier. Who is this guy? Who is this guy? Let me look over at my rankings and see if just looking at some names helps me out here. He looks like a running back. Oof. That might be... No, it's not him. We're going to come back. I know this is Chase Brown. Not great draft capital, but a good athlete, good landing spot as well. We'll put him at C tier for now just because his draft capital wasn't the best. He did get picked in the 5th round. And we have seen success with 5th round rookies for sure. But for now, just because, screw it. I've got to touch this B tier, right? I've got to go into it. So we're going to put him there. We're going to put him back at C. Or what? All right. So D is bad athlete, bad team. C is good athlete, bad team. Yeah, he's B. That's what we're going to do. S, great athlete, great landing spot. A, great athlete, good landing spot for Anthony Richardson, but a little bit of concerns. Kind of Bryce Young could be a good athlete, but undersized, an okay landing spot. A is kind of just a little bit better than, or is a decent bit better than B. It's just something is holding you back from reaching that S tier, just something. But B could be a good athlete on a good landing spot, could be, but just not like the perfect athlete, which would put him up to an A. Hopefully I'm not being confusing here. I don't think I am. I think I'm making sense. So B tier, his kind of main concern is he's not great in pass protection, but if all things go his way on the Cincinnati Bengals, say Joe Mixon does get suspended for the off the field issues, or the Bengals just straight up get rid of him, which I mean, wouldn't be what they do at this point, considering they waited until the 5th round to address the running back room, but still, he did have some injuries last season, and that allowed Samaje Perine to come in and succeed. And Chase Brown is a great athlete. 92nd percentile 40-yard dash, a 95th percentile burst score, and an 86th percentile bench press. So he's strong too at 5'10", 209 pounds. So I'm just going to slide him into the B tier here. Jackson Smith and Jigba. I'm putting him into the S tier. This might be a hot take here, but I mean, obviously he's the number 1 wide receiver in this class. To me, I love the Seattle Seahawks landing spot. That has been divisive among the fantasy community, but I think it's a great landing spot. It's a team that does pass the ball enough. If Geno Smith continues to play the way he has last season, then I don't see this being a bad landing spot at all. I see this being a great situation. I think he complements Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf perfectly. He's going to be able to operate over the middle of the field, and I could see him hitting that Amon-Ra St. Brown tier. And yeah, it's not A tier to where there's really anything holding him back to me. I love the landing spot. I love the athlete. Yeah, he's not fast in a 40-yard dash, but he's incredibly agile. That makes up for it. He's a great route runner. He was an alpha at Ohio State. S tier for Jackson Smith and Jigba. Next up, Dalton Kincaid. This is a good one. Okay, A tier for Dalton Kincaid. He is a great athlete, phenomenal athlete. The Harry Snowman will tell you all about Dalton Kincaid. He's a good route runner. He knows how to find spots in the defense. The Bills' landing spot is great. However, there are some concerns about Dawson Knox. So yes, you want a player on the Bills, but not necessarily at the tight end position. It's a little bit iffier, but still I'm going to attach myself to the Bills offense where I can. And Dalton Kincaid has taken enough of a volume hit to where he's at a good price to acquire, I believe. And the A tier to me works perfectly. He's better than Dawson Knox, plain and simple. So to be able to put him in the A tier, I think that makes sense. It's just, his one concern would be that Dawson Knox gets a couple touchdowns that you don't really want him to, or he doesn't necessarily get the volume that you want him to, but still a great athlete on a pretty damn good team in the Buffalo Bills. So that's an A tier for me. Deuce Vaughn. Yeah, so this is the B tier, I think, is starting to establish itself pretty well here. The B tier, I'm going to put Deuce Vaughn for now. He's a pretty good athlete. He really is, and we talked about him on the Finding the Value towards the end of the draft video a couple days ago. Go check that out if you haven't. But what I liked about him, we might have to do C tier. We might have to do C tier, not D tier. But yeah, his profile isn't the best. He's got size concerns, but he is attached to the Cowboys. So that's going to bump him up from D tier. A good team, but not the best athlete with size concerns. He did produce. He had plenty of production in college, which is kind of what puts him up to the C tier, but I don't think you can quite put him in the B tier. But back-to-back 1,400 yards in seasons in college, that's great. It's just the size concerns. I do think he'll get a chance. I do think he'll get a pretty damn good chance. Like we said in that video, his dad is an important person to this team, so he will get an opportunity. They waited to address running back, and of course he's backing up or sharing the backfield if Pollard goes down with Malik Davis. And Pollard could go down, right? I mean, he's just coming off an injury, so I like C for him. I think that's good. I don't think it's fair to put him in D. Devon A-Chain. If we're putting A tier as just kind of only one thing holding you back, I feel like Devon A-Chain is right there, right? He's a supreme athlete, extremely fast. I love the landing spot for the Miami Dolphins. And when I say extremely fast and the Miami Dolphins, he's faster than Tyreek Hill. He's the fastest player on this team. I love that. Mike McDaniel will be scheming plays for him without a doubt, and he will be explosive. Last season, we saw Raheem Mostert only miss 2 games. Jeff Wilson, I don't believe, missed a game for the Dolphins. I think he did get hurt in a game and have a low snap share and then come back the next week and have another low snap share, but I don't think he actually missed a game with them. So McDaniel knows how to save his running back. So, yeah, he has the health concerns, the size concerns Devon A-Chain does, but the landing spot and the athleticism is so good that I've got to put him in the A tier. I do. And of course, I mean, if he was built properly, right? If he was 200 pounds, I mean, shit, this guy's probably an S tier with that landing spot. He really is. But right now, we'll put him in the A tier. Dwayne McBride, we've got to do the D tier for now. Unfortunately, right, he did lead college in rushing yards last season. However, his profile is not that great, and he's third string running back on this offense right now. Now, I know we didn't actually get to see his profile, so maybe that's unfair, and he did have great production the past 2 seasons, but it was at UAB, so it's not like it's against the greatest of competition. And right now, Dalvin Cook is still there. Alexander Madison is still there. So unfortunately, a D tier. If things start to change, he could move himself up to the C tier, but I'm going to slide him into the D tier right now. And I think I'm going to be doing the same. This is tough. No, I think Evan Hull deserves the C tier. I don't necessarily love the landing spot with the Colts, but I don't hate it either. And he's a supreme athlete. So I think C makes sense here. Great athlete. 85th percentile 40-yard dash, 81st percentile burst score, 82nd percentile agility, 5'10", 209 pounds with receiving prowess, 55 receptions last season at Northwestern, back-to-back 1,000 all-purpose yards seasons. Good athlete, right? But of course, this is a team that's going to be kind of growing with a rookie quarterback, plus Jonathan Taylor owns the backfield. He does have a path to be the third down running back. So actually, let's put him into B. Let's put him into B. I feel like it's unfair to put Chase Brown in the B tier and not Evan Hull. Kind of similar things, both 5th-round picks, good athletes going to a pretty decent spot where they could have some opportunity if the starter goes down. And even if the starter doesn't go down, Evan Hull could have the pass catching back work. So I'm going to put him into the B tier. Why not? Why not, right? Hendon Hooker. For now, we'll put the C tier, but we'll see as I discuss, and how we end up moving him. But C tier right now for Hendon Hooker. He's kind of fell a little bit in the draft, which hurt his value, of course. And then I really think, Jared Goff is who they're looking at. 3rd-round draft capital isn't the worst for a quarterback. Well, it's not great for a quarterback, but third round draft capital is not the worst in the world overall. But for a quarterback, it's definitely not super great. He's already 25 years old, and he's the backup. The only thing that makes him not D tier, right, is the fact he is pretty good, and it's a great offense. So if Jared Goff goes down, I mean, I see him succeeding. He's got a good offensive line. He's got good weapons. He's got good running backs. He should be able to succeed, but it's just the fact that he's a backup quarterback, right? And likely isn't getting a chance this season because it looks like that they're looking into extending Jared Goff right now, working on it. And if they really wanted to replace him, they had an opportunity early in the first round to try to trade up or even take like a Will Levis a little bit earlier than they did with Hendon Hooker. Who knows? Maybe that was good drafting, good draft strategy. But for now, C tier, I almost want to move him to B. I think I might move him to B. I might move him to B for now. Just because these guys are kind of all backups on good teams. And, I mean, he was a good college producer. He was. So I think I'll put him at B tier for now. Yeah. Israel Abanikanda. This guy's super fast. Not the greatest of landing spots. So I'm not going to put him down to D tier just because he is a good athlete. I think he probably will end up being the backup to Breece Hall, like the guy. But that's really all I could say about him. We'll have to see. He's at this point just a handcuff. A lot of things need to go his way, but he is a pretty damn good athlete. So I'll keep him out of the D tier for now. Still don't remember who this guy is. Why can't I remember who he is? Doesn't look like... And I even went through before this to kind of make sure I knew everyone's picture. Silly me. Top 40. Tucker's, not Sean Tucker's. I don't think that's Tyler Scott. Doesn't matter. We'll come back to that. Jahmyr Gibbs. I guess I'm going to put him A tier. Just because, I mean, no, you've got to do S tier, especially since they moved on from DeAndre Swift. S tier, great athlete, first round draft capital, hasn't happened in a while, but to go as high as he did, obviously the Lions want to use him plenty. He's clear and away better than David Montgomery is. I wasn't worried when DeAndre Swift was battling it out with David Montgomery. I'm sure as hell not going to be worried about Jahmyr Gibbs doing that. So yeah, S tier for him, great athlete, great landing spot, great potential production. Gotta go with S tier for Jahmyr Gibbs. Jalen Hyatt. See, look, I mean, I know Jalen Hyatt. The Giants landing spot, C tier. This is just, I mean, he's a good enough athlete. I might honestly do D tier. I think I'm going to do D tier. He's got one trick in his book, and that's just running streaks. C tier. I'm doing C tier. That's a tough one. He's a one-trick pony, as Cody calls him. But, you know, he did score 5 touchdowns and like 200 yards against Alabama. So obviously he's very, very skillful and can do it when asked. So that's what's going to just bump him up out of D tier. It's just that one game performance. I know that's probably not the best. But, I mean, there are some concerns about, you know, the Giants offense not really even being able to handle a weapon like that. Plus, Paris Campbell is there who does the same thing. Plus, they have Bryce Ford-Wheaton as an undrafted free agent rookie who's also very fast and can probably run streaks very well. So, you know what? Screw it. I'm gonna put Jalen Hyatt in the D tier. Holy shit, guys! This is CJ Stroud. Jackson Smith-Njigba S tier. My God. I just saw the Ohio State jersey. Oof. Man. So yeah, Jackson Smith-Njigba S tier. CJ Stroud A tier. Great athlete. CJ Stroud is. Played well against Michigan. Played well in college in general. Can't believe I did that. But yeah, so CJ Stroud, I'm going to put him in the A tier along with the other quarterbacks. I don't think any of these quarterbacks are S tier. Texans, not the best of landing spots, but I mean, I'm not going to put him down in B tier. I don't really think that makes much sense. So A tier for CJ Stroud. My bad, fellas. Saw the Ohio State jerseys and just locked it in. I even talked about the alphabetical order. That's crazy. Jaden Reed. A tier for now, but I might play around with that. I like the Packers landing spot. I like the profile. I like the closest comparable to Stephon Diggs on our website. And he's a good route runner. and good draft capital was second round, went 50th overall. That's pretty damn good. You've got to expect good things for him. And man, I feel like there's just something different about. Yeah, I'm gonna put him in B tier, I think, just because he's tough one. I mean, the Packers offense, right? The Packers offense is kind of a big concern, just because we don't necessarily know what we're gonna get with Jordan Love plus Christian Watt. If we've got to give a little bit of a benefit of doubt there, so I think we'll put A tier for Jaden Reed. Yeah, we'll put A tier. It's like a B.5. I don't think it's quite A tier, but I don't think it's quite B tier. So let's do B tier. I'm gonna do B tier. Yeah, but you can expect decent things from him, but I don't think it's going to be the ceiling that the A tier guys have. Yeah, you got to kind of add some ceiling in here. So I don't really think Jaden Reed has that much of a ceiling, but I do think he's going to be decent enough, and it's a decent enough landing spot. B tier is perfect. Jonathan Mingo, probably a good C tier, good enough athlete, but don't love the landing spot on the Panthers. There's just a bunch of kind of wide receivers in there that all will kind of do the same thing. Plus, it's a rookie quarterback, so you can't expect the biggest of numbers. And I mean, the athletic profile is okay, right? It's not the best in the world. We're talking about a guy with, okay, you know, it's okay. It's okay. 91st percentile burst, 96th percentile speed score, and a pretty good catch radius at 83rd percentile. So we could put him in the B tier. I think that's fair, right? He got good draft capital too. Drafted in the second round, 8th overall in the second. So yeah, we'll give it to him in the B tier. And what I like is he'll have a chance to kind of be Bryce Young's like favorite weapon, right? They get to work together. They're both rookies coming in at the same time. So yeah, we'll give him B tier. This one's Jordan Addison. This is where I think we could do the A tier. Great landing spot. Had good college production. The athletic profile does leave stuff to be desired. This I know. 69th percentile 40-yard dash is his best thing, but his best comparable is Deontay Johnson, who's had success at the NFL, and he did have 1,600 receiving yards his sophomore season. So if he can tap back into that, plus being the Vikings, Justin Jefferson's going to be double covered. TJ Hawkinson is probably going to be covered before Jordan Addison. So on a team that passes the ball plenty, to be the second option on that or third is a good ceiling. So it's a little bit better to me than the Jaden Reed going to the Packers or Jonathan Mingo going to the Panthers. Of course, also being a first-round draft pick, we'll put him in the A tier. Josh Downs. He went to Indianapolis. We're going to start him off in the C tier. You know, he's a good profile, third-round draft pick as well. 89th percentile burst, 86th percentile agility, closest comparable to Wan'Dale Robinson, back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons in college. But it's the Colts, right? And again, this is Anthony Richardson we're talking about. He has the rushing thing, but we're concerned about the passing. Plus, Jonathan Taylor gets plenty of carries in the game. Gardner Minshew's not going to sustain 3 different weapons. And I mean, Alec Pierce, as much as we hate to say it, has a better profile than Josh Downs. So Josh Downs will probably be the wide receiver 3. Michael Pittman commands a ton of volume. Jelani Woods hopefully takes a step forward. So I'm going to throw Josh Downs into the C tier. This is Kendre Miller, B tier. See, this time I didn't just look at the TCU jersey. I looked at the whole face. This is definitely Kendre Miller. Let's see. And we have him ranked pretty high going to the Saints, third-round draft capital. I'm going to start him off. Oh, no, let's throw him into the A tier. I think that's fair. If I'm throwing Devon Achane there, I think that's a similar kind of story here. We know that Alvin Kamara is probably going to be suspended, and Kendre Miller, right, if that does happen, is going to be in a fantastic spot. He'll probably be the RB1 because he's better than Jamal Williams. 1,399 rush yards last season, some receiving yards as well. Good size at 5'11", 215 pounds. If he hits his ceiling, yeah, that's an A tier. And we're kind of expecting him to be honest. We're expecting an Alvin Kamara suspension and all that fun stuff. So we're going to do both of these at the same time. Tucker Kraft and Luke Musgrave. I think that's right. Let's see. Is that Tucker Kraft? I feel like it was in like some sort of alphabetical order. Yeah, it's Tucker Kraft, and it was saved as Kraft, KL. Okay, so both of these tight ends, I feel like if it was just one drafted, we could throw them into the B tier. But because they were both drafted, they're going to be battling each other out, and I don't think it's fair to separate either one. And I don't think anything just like draft capital is enough to make that argument because, I mean, Mark Andrews was a 3rd-round pick and Hayden Hurst was a 1st-round pick, and they were drafted in the same year. And Mark Andrews was the guy who broke out. So we'll go – I guess it makes sense to throw them both in the B tier then, just because one of them is probably going to succeed. One will probably end up being an A and one will be a C. But so we'll throw them both in the B because we're waiting on things to happen with them. We're waiting on some things to happen. One of them will break out likely, but they're both good athletes and it's a good enough landing spot. It's just kind of a concern that they both got drafted. Marvin Mims. What can I say about him? 2nd-round draft pick going to the Broncos. Think a B tier is fine for him. He's an okay athlete as well. And the draft capital's good. 91st percentile burst score, 5'11", kind of small at 183, but 1,000 yards last season. So B tier, he's not the best of athletes and it's not the best of landing spots, but I don't think there's enough concerns to bump him down to C tier. It's just fine, right? If one of these Broncos wide receivers gets traded, I think that we'll be in a good spot for sure. What I do like about him is the fact that Sean Payton doesn't necessarily have his guy, and Marvin Mims could end up being Sean Payton's guy, So, and he'll probably be on the outside. I imagine he'll probably end up beating out Tim Patrick with Cortland Sutton over the middle, Jerry Jeudy on the other side. So Marvin Mims, we're going to throw into the B tier. Michael Mayer. I guess you've probably got to throw him into the A tier if we're throwing the Packers guys into the B tier. And we have Dalton Kincaid in the A tier as well. Then we're probably going to have to go with A tier as well for Michael Mayer. He's the next Darren Waller replacement for the Raiders. Fantastic athlete, the tight end one going into this. Didn't get drafted as the tight end one, but still good profile and great college production. Literally had a 31% target share as a tight end last season for Notre Dame. So A tier, that's perfect. If he gets the volume that we kind of expect him to, then, I mean, it's going to be wheels up. For Michael Wilson, we're going to throw him into the C tier for now because it's not the best of landing spots and it's a crowded receiving room. If things change, he could get bumped up to the B tier. But for now, I feel like the C tier is fine. If he was a little bit of a better athlete, we might be able to do a little bit more with him. But still, nothing better than a 79th percentile agility, which is fine, right? But we're talking about the back of the 3rd round, as close as comparable as Josh Palmer. And we're talking about the worst team in the league in the Arizona Cardinals. So C tier for him, but he does have a little bit of an opportunity just because we still hear the rumors that someone might get moved. And even if they aren't, eventually DeAndre Hopkins won't be a Cardinal, even if it's not this season. Eventually he won't just because of his age. Plus Marquise Brown has the injury history. Rondale Moore can't ever stay healthy. So he's going to have opportunities this season. It's kind of like Jalen Hyatt a little bit, but the Giants room is crowded even more than the Cardinals room. And there's already people who can do what Jalen Hyatt does. And Michael Wilson doesn't necessarily take away from anyone. So I'll put him in the C tier. Tank Dell, I'm going to do the same with the C tier. And the only reason he's not a D tier is just, again, the Houston Texans receiving room isn't quite as crowded. And we're starting to hear some reports. We might move him up to the B tier, actually, because what I kind of like about Jonathan Mingo, I like about Tank Dell, the fact that he's coming in with a rookie quarterback and CJ Stroud. And we'll get to kind of learn with him, grow together. And the fact that we're hearing reports that CJ Stroud told the Texans to draft Tank Dell, that they became fast friends at the scouting combine. So I like Tank Dell there. I like Tank Dell a lot. We'll put him in the B tier. Some size concerns and everything, but it's average, right? And we'll kind of learn to grow, kind of see. And I think that's fair to put him with Jaden Reed and Jonathan Mingo. I think that's a good spot. A tier is Quentin Johnston. That's easy. I mean, look at this. I mean, it's basically all the 1st-round guys up here in the A tier. Great landing spot on the Chargers, just leaves a little bit to be desired. He's not the best at really anything. He's just pretty kind of good around the board. He's fast. He's got good size at 6'3", 208. Well, I guess when I say fast, he's got good burst. He's 98th percentile burst score, but only ran a 4.57 for some reason. But he's got a good catch radius too, and he produced last season at TCU. So if he taps into everything, maybe he could blast up to an S tier. But A tier for now, really carried by the Chargers landing spot. That's great stuff. Rashee Rice, we're throwing into the B tier as well. I mean, it's a crowded Chiefs receiving room for sure. But he's going to the Chiefs. and that's awesome. That's awesome. He doesn't really have the best profile, but literally when you go to the Chiefs, you're being thrown into the B tier like we're doing with Chase Brown just because he basically went to the Bengals. Granted, Chase Brown is a better athlete than Rashee Rice is, but still, Rashee Rice, we're throwing into the B tier because, I mean, it's the Chiefs. It's the Chiefs. You have to do it. And 95th percentile burst, that's not bad. And 1,300 receiving yards last season. So pretty damn good. Roschon Johnson, B tier as well. Easy B tier. Yeah, good enough landing spot on the Bears. It's definitely crowded. He's going to have to do some work to work his way up. But, you know, here at Player Profiler, we've got to love him. We have to. He's got great size, and really he did great even just backing up Bijan Robinson last season. He did. So a B tier for him. I think that's easy to do. Next up is Sam Laporta. I want to throw him into the A tier. I like the landing spot onto the Lions and the draft capital as well as the athletic profile. So A tier for Sam Laporta. Good stuff coming from him next season, I hope. I really do. You know, TJ Hawkinson took some time to get in there, but I mean, just go check out Sam Laporta's profile, 91st percentile 40, 90th percentile agility. It's great stuff, as well as 4 seasons at Iowa, just a Big Ten player. Those guys know how to play some football. So leaving a little bit desired to keep him out of the S tier just because his profile isn't the best, but it's not too bad either. And the landing spot is good. So A tier for sure. Sean Tucker, can't put him in the B tier. Can't do it just because he wasn't. I'm going to do it. Screw it. If we're throwing Chase Brown in there, I feel like these guys, where are they at? These guys are kind of all the same. Evan Hull, Chase Brown, and Sean Tucker. Sean Tucker, great profile. Going to the Buccaneers, it's a good enough landing spot. No. Chase Brown was up there because he went to the Bengals. Buccaneers are not as good as the Bengals, so a C tier for him. It's a good enough landing spot, a good profile. He probably will have a chance at some point this season, and I think he'll take it, but you've got to put him down at the C tier. This is Tank Bigsby. I think I'm going to do C tier as well for him. Not the best athlete, not the best landing spot, given that it's a little bit crowded, honestly. Kind of want to do D tier with Jalen Hyatt, just kind of the same vibes. I don't know. We'll put him at C tier. He'll get some goal line work. He will. So we'll put Tank Bigsby at the C tier. 10 touchdowns in back-to-back seasons for Auburn. That's pretty damn good. And 6 feet tall, 210 pounds. Could probably get some goal line work. But it is a crowded Jaguars backfield. He's not going to be the starter, not going to be a workhorse or anything, so can't put him any higher than a C tier. I think that's Trey Tucker. Let me see. Let me see. Yeah, Trey Tucker going to the Raiders. C tier. I mean, just again, crowded receiving room, but he does have a good profile. Yeah. Right, 3rd round draft pick. Not much more to say about that. Good enough profile, not the best landing spot. Yeah, C tier for Trey Tucker. C tier. Tyjae Spears. We'll throw him into the B tier because we like the landing spot going to the Titans. He will probably have a role catching some passes, and maybe, you know, if something happens to Derrick Henry, him and Hassan Haskins are sharing that backfield. And he is a good athlete. His concern is that he has arthritis, and that we haven't seen any success with running backs with arthritis. So going to be hard to bump him any higher than a B tier. And in fact, a B tier is probably wishful thinking, but still, I like the athlete a lot. I really do. I believe this is Tyler Scott, Bears wide receiver, throwing him down to D tier. I don't really want to touch. I need to stop saying that. I don't want to have a Bears wide receiver on my team. He has a good profile at 95th percentile burst, 81st percentile 40-yard dash, but no 1,000-yard seasons at Cincinnati. 4th round draft pick. I'm just going to throw him into the D tier. I don't like the landing spot. The profile's, I mean, pretty good, but we'll throw him in the D tier. Just so I don't get fired, right? We're going to throw Will Levis into, I think A tier is fine, but I think he's kind of B.5, right? I think he's a little bit better than Hendon Hooker, but probably worse than the guys who are actually probably starting. So I'm going to throw him right at the top of the A tier. We're going to move Musgrave back right at the top of A tier. And where is, I think this is probably a good layout. Yeah. It's a decent order. We'll put Chase Brown at the bottom of B tier. I might have to bump him down to the C tier. No, I like it. I'm going to stick with that take. Kind of Evan Hole. Yeah, we can move him. I'm tinkering. I'm tinkering. I'm tinkering. Stop me. Okay. Who are we talking about? Will Levis, top of the B tier. That's what I'm going to say. He's not quite A tier because we don't necessarily think he's going to be starting yet. I don't know. I mean, I really keep saying that the Titans are going to move on from Ryan Tannehill, but it's just like the days keep getting longer and longer, and they haven't done it. So, we're just going to put him at the top of the B tier. Yeah, we like his potential, right? Kind of like Anthony Richardson, but the Titans isn't as good of a landing spot as the Colts is for Anthony Richardson, unfortunately. So, top of the B tier, maybe bottom of the A tier, but I think we'll do bottom of the A tier. We'll just do bottom of the A tier. Because, again, I don't really want him in the same tier as Hendon Hooker. In fact, maybe I should just bump Hendon Hooker down to the C tier. Yeah, and then put Will Levis top of the A tier again. Okay, I think that looks a little better. Yeah, that looks good. Okay. Zach Charbonnet. We've got to throw him into the B tier just because he did get good draft capital and he does have a good profile. It's just the landing spot is annoying. We'll kind of throw him here in front of the wide receivers to show our running back bias. And we'll have Luke Musgrave ahead of Tucker Kraft because of draft capital, but still same tier. But Zach Charbonnet, it sucks that he went to the Seahawks, but he still got good draft capital. And again, good athlete, probably will produce well, and premium handcuff. So you can't bump him down to the C tier. You just can't do that. And similar with Zay Flowers. Unfortunately, I'd love to put him in the A tier with the other first round wide receivers, but he didn't land on a good team like the Vikings or the Chargers for Addison or Quentin Johnston. So you've got to put him, sadly, in the B tier. I don't love the Ravens landing spot. Good athlete and everything. I'll bump him ahead of these guys. I'll put him behind Will Levis. This is a good little crowd right here. But yeah, Zay Flowers, kind of near the top of the B tier. Good profile and everything. So who was this guy? We had Tyler Scott, Trey Tucker. Is that Cedric Tillman? That's probably Cedric Tillman. Yeah, Cedric Tillman. He went to Cleveland. Gross. And in the third round, we'll kind of put him in the C tier as well. I think Michael Wilson is a good comparable for that. Yeah, definitely. I think this turned out pretty well. Look at that. Cedric Tillman, C tier, going to the Browns. He's going to be wide receiver 3 at best to start the year, maybe even 4. So, it sucks. And plus he's kind of having these health concerns, right? That made him drop in the first place. If this was last season, obviously he probably would have gone in the first round, but he got hurt, draft capital fell, and didn't end up on the best of teams. If Deshaun Watson does start slinging it and some injuries happen, then we can see him on B, but I think C tier is the way to do it. And yeah, I think I'm going to move CJ Stroud in front of Bryce Young for my personal preferences. I think this is good. This is good. Kincaid, wide receivers. Yeah, nice. I like A-Chain a lot, guys. I do. So anyway, this is my tier list. Take a little peek at it. Let me zoom in. Let me see if that helps. Let's see. Yeah, check that out. Woo! The tier list has been made. A 40-minute episode, the longest in Wake and Take history. But that's what happens when you build a 40-player tier list. Thank you all for watching. I will see you all live next time on Friday, next morning, 10 a.m. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed the tier list. You have a fantastic, and I mean fantastic, Thursday.
Hey, you like that video? Be sure to subscribe and activate those alerts so you get notified as soon as new videos drop. And be sure to check out PlayerProfiler.com. We have all the tools for you to dominate every type of fantasy league. We have a draft kit, Dynasty Deluxe, data analysis, DFS Dominator, and don't forget the player rankings to rule them all.